Okay, I think it's probably time we call the meeting to order. Want to thank all of you for attending. If you have a cell phone, you could put it on mute, and we'd appreciate that. We're going to begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Jim McNulty to lead us in the pledge. So, go ahead, Jim.
The audience, please stand. Thanks. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Okay. We'll now go to the approval of the minutes for our council meeting that occurred on April 2nd. If I could have a motion and a second.
I'll move that we approve those minutes from our council meeting, April 2nd, 2019.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, now at the portion of our meeting where we entertain citizen comments. If you're here for the public hearing, you'll want to wait and share at that time when we do the public hearings, which will be immediately after citizen comments. But if you're here for anything other than that, please feel free to come to the microphone. We are asking that you take 3 minutes. And when you'll give us your name and the city you live in, we need that for the minutes. When we transcribe the minutes, we need to know, be able to identify who was talking. So, and with that, I'll open it up to citizen comments. Yes, just come to the podium. Yep.
My name is Jack Pate. I live in Provo, but spend most of my time here in Murray at my office on Fireclay Avenue.
Where's your office again, Jack?
36 West Fireclay Avenue.
Fireclay. You're in Fireclay. Okay.
Basically, it's 4300 south,
Got it.
effectively.
Thank you.
I would like to make a comment. I requested, because we are part of that TOD, transit-oriented development. There are a lot of apartment buildings. There's a lot of parking problems. We requested that the city do some parking regulation. They did. They installed 2-hour parking signs, which are being thoroughly ignored. So I was told at the time, well, you need to be aware, we don't have the resources to patrol that. And I said, not a problem. We'll watch it and we'll report it if there's a problem. So I did that. I collected all the evidence who was parking too long all week, all day, took all the photographs in front of the sign like the police do, right? I called the police and report it, and they said, we appreciate that information, we'd love to do something about it, but the city prosecutor has forbidden us to ticket parked cars. Seattle no longer prosecutes misdemeanors, and the city's falling apart. YouTube has a Seattle is Dying video, you can go watch it. One of the big Midwest or Eastern cities has stopped prosecuting theft under $750, and theft is rampant. Now, I know that Murray must care about its image because it has an excellent reputation. Well managed, taxes are reasonable, services are excellent. But we do need to have parking enforcement, and I believe a non-enforcement provision is totally inadequate. And so right now, I had a client here the last 2 days, flew in from California, could not park at my office because there were literally cars there who were parked all week, okay? Now, I have a client who was a former highway patrol officer. He told me that cities have chase policies. He said if you have a chase policy, 1 out of 4 chases will end in a serious injury or death of somebody in the car fleeing or a bystander. He said if you have a no chase policy, he said the criminal element knows it, and within 2 weeks, nobody will stop for a police officer. And I would just suggest to you that my 3 examples are a reason why there are ways to enforce parking. BYU has them, the LDS Church has them, where towing companies do all the enforcement for them. And I realize you have a lot of factors to consider, but I would recommend that we do something and that we take an example. I've got plenty more, but it would take more than 3 minutes. Are there any questions?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to testify.
Hello, my name is Adam Thompson, and I live over in Three Fountains in Murray. I'm the vice president of their HOA board, and probably the youngest owner in that community of 297 people. But I would like to know where the committee, the council, and the mayor perhaps stand on the plastic bag ordinance discussion. I know it's on the 14th, but this is an issue that's going to have unintended consequences for the city of Murray. There's a lot of people on fixed incomes in this community, especially in my community, and it's misleading. And I'm kind of wondering why that the flyer that was handed out only addressed one side, and it was trying to push us towards banning the plastic bags. There wasn't another side presented in this at all. For example, some of the things that people can look up and are well documented are it actually increases litter in the city. It doesn't decrease litter in the city. It's actually a higher carbon footprint for the alternatives than the plastic bag. It's much less efficient. And if you go to a sustainable bag or a reusable bag, the cotton types, you have to use it 143 times for the same output as a plastic bag. Not to mention, some of our biggest employers are Smith's, Walmart. Do you think that would change behavior of people who live in this city? They would shop elsewhere, and the other businesses around those anchor tenants will also be affected. And I think it's not as simple as what I view as some sort of signal that Murray is better than other communities. And I think the cost far outweigh the benefits of banning plastic bags. So I want to know where everyone stands before the discussion on the 14th. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and sharing. Okay. Any other citizens would like to come and comment? Okay, seeing them, Senator, are we going to have a chance to hear from you tonight? That would be wonderful. Take as much time as you need.
Thank you so much. My name is Senator Kathleen Reeby. I'm newly elected to this area. I appreciate how efficient your meetings are, so I will not take much time. I have a budget that is on a microscopic card, and if you have glasses or a microscope, you can review it at your own leisure. I'll pass it out. It was a pleasure to work with you. I appreciate Janet's updates constantly on my email from your agendas, so I keep track of what you're doing. Tuesday is the day that everybody seems to meet, so I'm going to be leaving this meeting to go to another meeting, but I'd like to just touch base with all of you and know that I am here for you, and so if you'd ever like to reach out to me and talk to me about any kind of issues you have, I'm always available. The budget was interesting this year because of our restructuring of the tax plan, and so that kind of changed the whole feeling of the whole entire session. We thought we had a lot of money going into the session. We found out we didn't have as much money coming out of the session. Halfway between the session, we had a budget that was going to change the tax structure, and then that fell apart. So we just found out yesterday that we have developed the tax task force and the people that are on it. It's a hard thing to say for some reason for me. But the task force has been created, and they're going to start working. We don't know the timeline on that just yet. The thought was that we were going to have sales services be taxed at a higher rate. There was a lot of pushback from the community. We are now going to go back and see if we can have a better plan for that. I know that Murray is dramatically impacted by point of sales tax, and I was very cognizant of that. I'm really working hard with the league to try to make sure that we do the best we can to not impact any city negatively. It was constant push and pull, and the league did a great job helping out and mitigating all of the things that we could possibly mitigate. I have cards for everyone if anyone else would like a copy of this budget. It's pretty amazing that they can put $18 billion onto this little card. It was I just said something in my head, I forgot it. But it was a great session, and I really appreciate all of you who supported me, and I hope anybody who didn't, I can gain your support. So please feel free to call me at any time. Thank you so much. I'll just pass these around.
Well, thank you, Senator. If you would, I'm going to deviate a little bit here. Are there any questions for Senator Wiebe? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and have you distribute those cards. That would be wonderful. Maybe Doug can give you a hand there, huh? All right. Any other citizens choosing to comment? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Our first item is to consider an ordinance relating to land use. It amends the zoning map for the property located at 1104 West Winchester Street, Murray City, Utah, from the O-S open space zoning district to the R16 single-family medium-density residential zoning district. Jim will be presenting on behalf of Melinda Greenwood, who's excused.
Thank you, Councilman Nick Ponsky. So again, we're looking at a rezoning application. The address is 1104 West Winchester Street. We have 2.19 acres in property. The current zone is open space. The proposed zoning is single-family residential, R16, so single-family homes on a minimum 6,000 square foot lot. So this is an aerial view of the site. You can see the property in question. There to the north of Winchester Street, the existing home with some of the outbuildings that backs onto the existing city-owned golf course. Again, this is the same thing, but it gives you a layer of our zoning. So we have the OS, or open space, that the property is currently zoned. And then across the street, we have Winchester Estates, where we have manufactured homes directly across the street and to the south. This is the land use map from our general plan, our future land use map. You can see that this piece of property was left out when we went through the general plan process, which took over 2 years. And that general plan was adopted by the City Council in May of 2017, so approximately 2 years ago. So that property was left out to allow for low-density residential land uses. Again, just a top view looking across the property, you can see it's a very nice piece of property adjacent to the city's maintenance facility and the city-owned golf course. These are some views looking across the property, directly across Winchester to the north, and then the bottom looking westerly on the right-hand side, and then the other property, I can't remember what perspective that is. Anyways, we have some findings. We presented this to the Planning Commission, and staff always has findings when we're looking at a rezoning of property. And I want to quickly go through those. The first finding is the rezoning of the property to R16 is supported by the future land use map designation of low-density residential and will not have negative impacts to the surrounding property's infrastructure or utilities. 2, the requested rezoning has been carefully considered based on the characteristics of the site and surrounding area and the policies and objectives of the 2017 Murray City General Plan, and have been found to support the goals of the plan. 3rd, the proposed amendment to the zoning map from open space to R16 is in harmony with the established low-density residential land use designation of the subject property. And then as far as staff and Planning Commission recommendation, Planning Commission, prior to that, city staff did do a staff report, and we recommended approval of this rezone application for the property addressed 1104 Winchester Street from an open space zone to a single-family R16 residential zone. On March 7th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and forwarded a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the requested amendment to the zoning map designation for the property located at 1104 West Winchester Street from open space to single-family residential. And I wanted to let the council know that that was a unanimous vote that evening in favor of the zoning map amendment. And with that, that's my presentation. Does the council have any questions for staff at this time?
Let's go to the public. Any questions or comments from the audience?
I believe the applicants.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. We have the applicant here?
Yeah.
Okay, please come forward. Thank you, Jim.
My name is Ken Olson, 10299 Springcrest Lane. So I am the applicant and owner of the property along with Scott McGavin. And I don't have too much more to add. It's a nice property and we're excited about it, and staff's pretty much covered it. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer any.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
Can I ask Jim a question real quick on?
Please do.
I want to know how many homes would be allowed to fit on. Remind me of the acreage. It's 1 point.
So the acreage is 2.19
2.1.
acres.
Okay.
We've not reviewed a subdivision plat at this point because they have to do the rezoning
Right.
first.
It's 12.
But just lotting it out in an R16 and putting in a public street that's 49 feet wide with our required cul-de-sac, it would yield 10 to 12 lots.
Okay.
10 to 12 homes max.
Okay, thanks.
It's a good question, Councilman. Thank you. Okay. Having finished with the public portion of this discussion, we'll bring it back. Oh, do you want to speak? Okay. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yep. Nobody moved, so I thought we were done.
Oh, I put a hand up.
I don't look at waved hands.
Oh, sorry. I'm Kate Sturgeon, 569 East, 6295 South. I just want to ask the City Council to think carefully on this because, yes, it's 10 or 12 homes on a little wart next to the golf course, but they're not making land anymore. They're not making green space. Once it's gone, it's gone. And is that the best use for that piece of property? At this point, perhaps 10 or 12 homes is the best use, but you only get one chance at this. And so I would just ask you to consider this carefully before you say, yeah, 10 or 12 homes, really great thing. And consider how congested that area is becoming, and is this the best use of the property? Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Scott Haupt. I'm a resident here in Murray, 1172 West Crystal Dale Court. I live in the area. I drive by that lot every day. I would much prefer to see it stay the same than to see a few houses there. Certainly the amount of additional property taxes is relative to the city budget and is very minimal. And I think it'd be much better use to see green space. As she said, there is no additional land here. And most land by way of economic value is going to be switched over to housing and not open space. If and when Murray could buy this property, I think it would be a great dog park, pickleball courts, or any such recreational area, and leave it in tune with the rest of that property, which is the golf course, which has a lot of green space with it and has good utilization.
Any further comment? Any further comment?
My name is Scott McGavin, 10363 Legacy Cove in South Jordan, Utah. I am one of the owners of that property. We purchased it from the Turpin family. Inasmuch as my name is on the ownership of the property, I got a call one day from David. He manages the maintenance shed at the golf course.
Caruth.
Caruth. I've had several meetings with Dave, and he says, I understand you're the owner of the property. I want you to be aware of some things that have happened to us recently. Maybe some of you are aware of it. I've got photos on my cell phone where people have come onto the southeast corner of that property and entirely clipped the top of the chain link fence from top to bottom. They went through our property, clipped the fence adjacent with ours in the maintenance shed, went and stole a whole bunch of gasoline at the expense of the city from their storage container there. They went into their very nice brand new tractors and cut the wires from the batteries, lifted the wires out with the batteries attached, went to the Redwood Recycling Center on Redwood Road, and sold them to the Redwood Recycling Center. I've got photos on my cell phone of big bins of sprinkler attachments that they took out of the maintenance shed and sold to the Redwood Recycling Center. That must have cost the city thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Dave Caruth had to go down to the Redwood Recycling Center and purchase that stuff back from the Redwood Recycling Center, which seems like just a horrible crime that they had to do that. I know they had a suspect. I've got photos of people coming off and on the property that some friends of mine have taken. I turned that over to the police department. I do believe they had a suspect, and hopefully they caught that person. We know for a certainty that people have been living in that house. There are trails, well-beaten paths that go from the front into the house through the weeds there. We believe that house, I've sent the police over there several times to clear the house. They've never found anybody there when they've been on the property, but there's solid evidence that people have been living there. I have a close friend who's a cop from Murray City, and he said that place has been a nightmare for us as a result. As a result of the issues downtown and the movement out of the city with the homeless people. He said they have a requirement to go over there on a regular basis and check that. That's one of the worst places, the police officer told me, as far as activity. Dave Caruth. Anyway, needless to say, that place has been a problem. We believe that some homes on that property will be an upgrade to the neighborhood.
Thank you, David. Okay, any additional comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring this back to the council for discussion, questions, and a motion. Do you have any discussion?
You can ask something, Diane. Okay, I just want to ask, I asked this in the committee of the whole. We don't own the property, and I know we tried to purchase that, and what was the deal with that? I know I got a little bit of information, but what was the deal with not being able to purchase that? Mayor?
I do know a little bit about that, and that was that the Turpins who have owned that property for their family for many, many, many years was not willing to sell it to Murray City.
Okay.
And I was just quickly asking Doug the same, and that's the same answer I got that we discussed in committee of the whole on April 16th.
All right, thank you.
Diane, do you have anything?
I don't, but I'm willing to do a motion.
I would appreciate that. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay, I would make a motion to consider an ordinance. Well, I would make a motion to adopt an ordinance relating to land use, which amends the zoning map for the property located at 1104 West Winchester Street, Murray, Utah, from the OS Open Space Zoning District to the R16 Single Family Medium Density Residential Zoning District.
Thank you.
I'll
Is there a
second that.
Okay, Brett's seconded that. Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That motion passes. We will now move on to item number 2 of under public hearings. Consider a resolution approving a waiver of rent to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Salt Lake. Mayor Camp and Gio Critchfield presenting.
Thanks. Mr.
Oh,
Nikopolsky,
will Gio handle it? Thank you, Mayor.
I'll handle this.
Thank
What you
you.
have in your packets a proposed resolution and a proposed lease agreement between the city and Boys and Girls Club. As you know, the city some time ago purchased the Creekside, what was formerly the Creekside High School. And that was purchased subject to 2 tenants who have had leases with the school district. We took over those leases, and now we are looking to change that lease. When we purchased that property, our intent was not to be a landlord, but it came available at a good time, and so we purchased it subject to those 2 tenants. Since we met last I can't remember the date it was when we met with, at the Committee of the Whole over this issue. Kids Eat has given us notice that they're going to vacate. They're not going to be there anymore. So this would be the Boys and Girls Club. And since we don't want to be a tenant there, we sat down with the Boys and Girls Club and proposed to them that we could take to the City Council the proposal that the city could waive the rent for them if they were to maintain the building and the grounds. They were amenable to that and have agreed in principle to the lease agreement that you see, that essentially just waives the rent that they would pay. So they wouldn't pay any rent, but they would have to bring the building up to where it needs to be and then maintain it at that level. So the reason we're here is this is a nonprofit organization receiving a gift, if you agree to do this, from the city. It requires your approval.
Okay. Thank you, GL. To the public for comment and or questions. Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it to the council for discussion and questions.
GL, what is the value of that gift?
You know, at the time when we purchased the high school, the building, they were paying $1,000 a month. That's under market value. I would estimate it's quite a bit more than that a month, that if you were to open it up to anybody who wanted to rent it would be more than that. I think that's at about, I want to say about 80 cents per square foot. The market is probably close to $1.25 or $1.50 a square foot, I would think, in that range.
Okay.
Now, do we have I'm trying to think of the terminology, contract then, for how long?
Yeah, the lease agreement, that's a good question. We've talked about that. That's not yet filled in your agreement, but we were thinking along the lines of 2 years at the most.
Yeah, because then that give us time, give
Right,
them
and-
time.
Well, and they would want time because they're going to have to
Sure.
recoup that
Sure.
cost they're going to put into the building.
Yeah, and if you guys feel comfortable about the 2 years, okay.
All right, and that would conclude our discussion and comments. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution of a waiver of rent to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Salt Lake
I'll second.
for no more than 2 years, I should say.
Okay, Jennifer?
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. House?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye. Okay, that concludes our public hearing portion of the meeting. We'll now move on to business items. The first business item is to consider a resolution adopting the tentative budget as amended for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020, and scheduling a hearing to receive public comment before the final budget is approved. Brenda?
So we made the adjustments that you had requested in the budget that you are adopting. We added $30,000 to help pay for any additional costs if a department within the general fund would like to go with a clean vehicle. We also increased the sidewalks allocation $100,000. I can't remember what the total is. And then I made some technical changes, added fees for the cemeteries, credit cards, and various other small items that had been overlooked in the original budget. So it's just before you. It will be on the internet tonight or tomorrow morning, the council version of the budget. Janet has a copy, and then I only made 2 hard copies for the council office. If you would like your own individual copy, let me know, and I will kill another tree for you. So, and that is it. Do you have any questions on what we changed?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks, Brenda.
Okay, no questions for Brenda. We will move to the council for a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution adopting the tentative budget as amended for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020, and scheduling a hearing to receive public comment before the final budget is adopted.
I'll second.
Okay, Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll now look, we will not be considering item number 2 this evening, which is a resolution approving the Murray Central Station Small Area Plan. We're going to pull that from the agenda, and we will complete noticing the requirements and address this as a public hearing in June. So with that, we'll go to the mayor and his report and any questions we may have of the mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things this evening. We've mentioned over the past few meetings about the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Survey. I'm pleased to tell you that it will close this week, so you don't have to hear a report on it anymore. But the good news is we have had over 1,200 responses, in fact, getting close to 1,300 responses on that survey. So anyone who hasn't completed the survey, we encourage you to do so this week, because it will close Friday. Also, all of us are aware of the work that UDOT is doing on I-15, and we've been receiving calls. We received one just today about the bridge work that's taking place on I-15 over Winchester Street, and then another one further south with the tracks. And they're working on improving and widening those. Now, the unfortunate thing about that is that we will be hearing a lot of very loud noises from the work that they're doing in the evening hours. I can attest to that. I hear it from my house. But the work is expected to continue for the next 6 weeks, in case you get any calls on it. And anyone with questions can also contact UDOT directly. They have a construction page on UDOT's website where they can go for contact information. But about 6 more weeks, and then they'll start something else. So, wanted to express appreciation to the many of our departments that participated in our Arbor Day celebration last Friday. It was a really great activity. We had probably 300 to 400 people attend at the amphitheater. Included elementary school students. We have the poster contest every year, which is always a big hit, and the education centers that were set up in the park. Just a thanks to our parks. Our Parks Department, our Power Department, our Public Works Department, and the Shade Tree Commission members who help make that possible every year. And it was also great to celebrate our 42nd year of being a tree city. And then finally, just wanted to let you know, if you're not aware of the secondary art show for junior high and high school students, it's currently on display at Fashion Place Mall near the Dillard's store. And it will be available to view today through Thursday during the regular mall hours. So if you're down there, stop and take a look at that. And that's it, unless you have any questions.
Well, I just want to take a moment and thank you, Mayor, for the professional and outstanding job you did in the selection process for a new finance director. I think that we sure appreciated having a member of the council on that board, and we think you made a good selection. So thank you.
I think we did too. So
yeah.
She'll do a great job.
All right. Anything else, council members? Okay, we will stand adjourned.